was in the mind of God. He was in the thought of God. And God already decided before he ever went to seminary, before he went to school of the prophets, before anything that man could do to build up, edify, and approve this prophet, God already decided this is the man that I'm choosing to be my voice to the people of this age. And in fact, these words to me are very sobering and let me know that God knows even before we step into this world, before we leave our mother's womb, God already knows about us and has purpose and design for our life. We might expect the confirmation of a prophet to be on someone who's graduating from school of the prophets with high honors, somebody who was mentored under a prophet, somebody who was around prophets. But this Jeremiah was from a family of priests. But he himself became a priest and a prophet. He was a priest because he was born into a family of priests. But he became a prophet because God said, you will be my voice for this generation. We don't take that office, the office of a prophet, that's not something we take upon ourselves. But it was the commissioning and the ordination of God upon this man. And he was a young man. In fact, this man, young man, was from a small town called Anathoth, about 3 miles outside of Jerusalem. I would think that maybe he could be chosen from the bustling city of Jerusalem where all of the dignitaries were, but God chose him 3 miles outside of town. In fact, if you walk, typically an average walk is about 20 minutes a mile. You can walk some a little faster and some a little slower, depending on your gait, but that's about an hour's walk each way. If you're driving a car, you can get there quickly, but that's about an hour each way. So an hour outside of Jerusalem, and this family of priests, God decides this child that will be born will be used for my purpose. So I'm going to set his life apart, sanctify it, and then I'm going to ordain him to be a voice to the nations. His name, Jeremiah, means Yahweh will exalt or Yahweh lifts up. Jeremiah was a relatively unknown young man from an unknown place, but called by God to do unusual things in his generation. God knew him, and God formed him, and God set him apart, and God ordained him for his purpose. But yet Jeremiah did not know what his purpose was until God sent his word to him to confirm what God already knew about him before he was even born. Can you imagine? He's lived his life thinking, I'm going to be a priest. I'm going to do what my father did. And so he was probably already trained up and being trained by observation, by watching his family and his community. And yet God said, you'll be that, but you will also be this. And you'll be a voice to me, to the nations. And God used this young priest to be a voice on his behalf. Do not be surprised when God calls unsuspecting people from places that you've never heard of before, out of families that don't necessarily have the prophetic pedigree. And God said, that's actually who I choose to use to do my work and to fulfill my purpose. Somebody under the sound of my voice today, you're here and you've lived a little bit of life. As they say, life has been lifing and things have been happening, and you're just looking at your past and you're thinking, I could never do anything for God. Yet God chooses who He wants to choose and uses who He wants to use, how He wants to use, when He wants to use, where He wants to use. And just because you stumble along the way doesn't mean that the call of God has stopped in your life. In fact, as I look through Scripture, I see so many that were greatly used by God. Moses was a murderer. He killed an Egyptian, and justify it however you want. He killed a man. And because he killed a man, it derailed his future for about 40 years while he was on the backside of a desert hiding out so that he himself wouldn't be killed. Joseph was imprisoned unjustly. He went to prison and had a life that was just terrible because he was accused of things he didn't do. Yet the call of God never left him. He went to the pit, to Potiphar's house, to prison, and all the way to the palace. God just kept promoting him in spite of what people did to him. And yet in all of that the hardships and the difficulty, God never left him, and he never left God. Now that kind of shouts me today, because God's not going to leave you. But you have to be careful not to leave God. And He said, I'll be with you always, even to the very end. Don't lose faith just because you went through a little something or you had an issue, but you need to keep on even though you had some adversity.